This is Ozzy Arcane here with my good friends Mad Matt and Ojunix.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm going to talk about a little bit about some recent gaming news, stuff that's happened for the past month or so. Obviously, the Switch 2 was announced, which... as much as I only can find about some price-related stuff, the actual price of the system isn't my beef, in spite of it being a PS4 Pro power level system that costs more than the PS4 Pro. But it's a handheld system. Getting that technology to work in a handheld device is more expensive than a console.
No, yeah.
Even if I don't care about the portable features, I wish they just have it. I wish this is the regular Switch, they just have a cheaper version that's just permadock and doesn't have a screen. So I'm only going to use it plugged to the TV anyhow. But the big beef that I'm sure you're both going to agree with me on is the fact that Madison and all looks like we're going to have fucking $80 games now.
Oh yeah, the hell of that.
Like there's a second Nintendo's pushing it.
Nintendo's been pushing it for quite a while, to be fair. But
not $80 games though. Like honestly, they were during the Switch, they were $60 for most of the console's life cycle. There was mainly Tears of the Kingdom and one other game that they actually charged $70 for. The rest were all $60.
Oh yeah. Oh, and the game upgrades for Switch games, you gotta pay the full price, but that doesn't even include the DLC. That's extra.
Well, the game upgrades, you don't have to pay the full price if you own the game. You have to pay an upgrade price. If you don't already have the game, you have to pay the full price. There's an upgrade. Like, I think it's a $10 upgrade fee if you have the game already. If you don't have the game, you basically have to pay what was the original price plus $10. So you're paying the same total no matter what. It's still stupid, but from what I understand, the other thing is the way the Switch 2 handles backwards compatibility is through emulation. Which means, well, if they just play the games natively, the new more powerful hardware should be able to run the games better, but it emulates, so it doesn't do that. So to actually get a version of the game that runs better, you have to get the actual port that's for the Switch 2 that plays the games better. That wasn't really my point, though. My point was really the more I harp on the $80 thing, because now Microsoft, which, ironically, Microsoft put out the Oblivion remaster for $50, which is, it is a better value for $50 than you're getting out of a lot of AAA games nowadays.
Right now, oh yeah.
Especially considering it includes the expansions. But they also...
Expansions and DLCs.
They also supported Expedition 33, which is also a game that just came out for $50. Now, they didn't publish it, but because it's Game Pass Day 1, they did do a lot of marketing for it. So they are part of what made that game succeed, because they helped get the name out there. But the great thing is, I don't know if it's still on the early purchase discount. At least I pre-ordered it, and it was 10% off, so I actually paid $45 for Expedition 33, which is a really good price for a fully fledged JRPG experience. I know it's not a Japanese game, it's made by a French studio, but they were trying to make a game like Final Fantasy, which I'm surprised you actually don't see that many Western studios do.
Yeah, I'm surprised about that too once in a while. You'd think that they would get the idea and go, these are really popular over here still. Maybe if we did it with a little bit of a Western touch.
But
instead of a Western touch, they just, took what worked and then made their story.
But Microsoft kind of got a couple W's with that, only to turn around and take an L by announcing they're also raising games to $80.
And their console price as well.
But they're raising the... It is, I guess, supposed because their consoles are manufactured in China, so they're getting it slammed with the tariffs. But the thing is, nobody's buying their systems. How are you going to get that? How are you going to get people to buy them if you're charging more money for them? And it's on top of the fact that they're not the first the first person to raise console prices. PlayStation hasn't done it here, but they've done it like literally everywhere but the US. Where it's like, this is the only console generation where consoles haven't gotten cheaper as the generation went on. And if they're going to be charging, they're going to be charging $700. What is it? I think it's $720 for the Xbox Series X. If they're going to be charging that much for that, how much is the next system going to cost in a year or two?
800, 900, maybe 1,000.
Yeah, if
the hell with that, I'd rather just get a PC at that point.
Yeah, just get me PC.
If a console is $1,000, that really kind of nullifies the "well, PC's too expensive" argument most console fans have.
Yeah.
They're still going to try to say it anyhow because they just don't want to actually have to deal with building a PC. But
you're building up. If you're having someone else build a PC for you, it's really not that hard. Just don't monkey with it too hard. They already got some good specs in there probably, and you just spend about $1,000 for something that's going to last you about 10 years.
I was gonna say, if anything,
minimum.
I was gonna say, getting pre-built ones, and if you find a good deal, all you have to do is just plug it in, and boom, you're done.
Give it for you. You can get a decent pre-build, and if later when you got more money, you can replace the graphics card and increase the RAM.
Indeed. Or put a nice little solid-state drive in there. Oh, that baby cooks.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you almost have to have a solid-state drive for newer AAA games because they just take fucking forever to load otherwise.
Yeah.
But my main thing is I don't want to... Games aren't, like... People will say, well, games should have went up in price by now because of their cost of making games and this and that and this and that. It's like... There might be a few where that is actually true.
There's a few where that might be true, yeah, but that's not right.
But let's be honest. No. Let's be honest. Games like Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty make far more money from their free-to-play style microtransactions that are in their full-priced games than they ever will from game sales, even with the games at $80 each.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty should not be $80.
GTA they shouldn't even be $50.
GTA and Grand Theft Auto should be free because they're putting free-to-play microtransactions in them. I'm sick of this bullshit. And people trying to argue the game should be more... They're making billions of dollars on microtransactions while making only millions in actual sales. You don't need the fucking sales then.
I was going to say, the game companies, here's the process. They put out game, they make record profits. The CEO fires
everyone because you did too well. We can't keep you hired, and then proceeds to pump the game full of extra DLC and paid garbage, and then milks the players even more.
The CEO fires a bunch of people, reports to the investors what a good quarter segment they had, and then the CEO proceeds to have a nice monthly bonus. That bonus that bonus usually being the
money that should have gone to the actual developers.
Yeah.
And the other
it happens every time. When people get fired, the CEO gets a nice extra paycheck. Every time.
Which is also why I don't want to go to AAA video games anymore. There's so much red tape and bullshit behind the studios nowadays that they're just going to keep hiking the prices. Why would I want to play a game that's got a price hiked so high that I can't even look at it straight without going, nah, no thank you. I'd rather play an independent game that's going to cost me like maybe $20 or less and is going to actually last me a good maybe year or two.
The only rare occasion I will buy a game near full price or at full price is if I have knowledge of it. In most cases, it has to be an RPG because that's the only type of game or an MMO that I would ever condemn a high price for because I'm paying for how long I think I'm going to be spending in this game. If it's like a first-person shooter, no, it is not worth $60, $70, or $80. A kart racing game, it is definitely not worth $80. I'm sorry, Mario Kart fans.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, Mario Kart ain't worth $80. They essentially says it's going to be so much recycled assets.
But some of these live service games that have so many microtransactions in them, they should be free to play. And if you want to argue, well, what about the story? That's not the multiplayer thing where people would buy all the microtransactions. Make the story mode a microtransaction. It's not a hard concept because there's gonna be
paid extra.
There's going to be plenty of people that are going to buy GTA 6 and they're just going to play GTA Online. They're not going to play the story mode. Just make it free.
The only argument I will go with the game, probably still buying the game, is... Actually, no, I take it back. Nope, I take it on.
If it's a game that doesn't have microtransactions, yes. If not...
Yeah.
Like,
there's no microtransactions, fine, full price, sure, and then we'll eventually tumble it.
Because also, what do you notice are the most successful live service games, the ones that are free? Fortnite, Marvel Rivals,
Final Fantasy 14.
That's not free. Well, I mean,
you're right. Yeah,
it is free to play the base game and the first 2 expansions as long as you haven't activated a product key. Yeah. If you've activated a product key, it's permanently locked your account into a position where you have to be subscribed to play. Which I played before the free subscription, the free trial thing, even though I'm not actually through all that content, so my account's kind of permanently fucked. But my point is, like some games that failed, even as Path Exile 2, that's another big one. But like if you look at games that failed though, like Suicide Squad, I don't believe that making it free to play would have made it a better game, but it might have actually made more money.
At least a little more money. Especially
if you actually gave people more reason to spend money on the microtransactions, because making skins...
you would also be raking more people in to be near the transactions, Yeah.
It's funny because mentioning Grand Theft Auto, I can't remember who it was, but somebody did a video and mentioned... It basically went to explain... because a lot of people are worried that, Grand Theft Auto 6 could end up being $100 because... they think it's worth the price.
A lot of people are making the
argument. But he went into describing that the game could very well just go on to being free, and it would still sell well because the fact is it literally has casinos that even kids can play, which is horrifying. Dun, dun, dun. And that is where they make their money. It's not from the game itself. Is from the shark cards.
Yeah, the microtransactions.
So the fact that they literally, the fact is like, no, don't charge it for $100. If anything, Rockstar would make a big win if it was down to the regular $60 price, or hell, even $50, because at least then they would still get a pretty huge margin of their customer base. And still, people will still be going into it.
They'd get a large amount of people in, and they'd all be, a whole bunch of them would go online and start spending even more money.
Because I hate to tell you this, charging games around $80 to $100, if that rumor did happen, well, a lot of your customer base is going to be gone because outside of the whales, not a lot of people are going to have to really decide on, do I want this game or be able to afford food for the week?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to split too many hairs, and enough people are going to go, hell no, I don't even have time.
But you want to shift this argument, this conversation back to the discussion of Nintendo in particular in regards to this thing. Like a lot of people will talk about like Nintendo's game quality, this and that. But the thing is, you can't use any of the inflation arguments for Nintendo. Nintendo has their budgets under control. Nintendo is on underpowered hardware compared to everybody else, so that automatically makes it cheaper to make the games. But there's also the fact that Nintendo is a Japanese company that has smaller teams working on games. They're not like these idiotic Western corporations that have teams with hundreds of employees that live in California and demand a very specific amount of money to even be able to afford to live. It's cheaper to live in Japan than it is in California by a mile.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Or they're not Ubisoft. They had like over 2,000.
Yeah, Nintendo does not have any of the high costs that like big AAA Western companies do and running their business, especially when you look at the sales numbers. Because if you look at how much Mario Kart 8 sold, it sold over 67 million copies. That's more than any individual Call of Duty game has sold.
Yeah.
So, and then the thing is, like, even at $60, like, Mario Kart only needs to sell a couple million. Even at $60, Mario Kart only needs to sell a couple million to destroy its budget. And raising it to 80 is absurd. But people are like,
unnecessary, absolutely unnecessary. No one's going to pay for that.
And people
are
like,
not sensible people.
And some people are like, but look at how much of a massive improvement Mario Kart World is over Mario Kart 8. Well, it better fucking be, because Mario Kart 8 is a Wii U game. It's not a Switch game. It was ported to Switch.
All they did was just add more characters and tracks to it. That's it.
They added DLC to it that wasn't available for the Wii U version. But other than that, it's still just a Wii U game. So it is a game that's more than 10 years old at this point. So then there's the $80 price tag is it's bullshit.
No.
Yeah. And I will emphasize this. There's nothing wrong with the Nintendo games in themselves. They are good games. They play fine. They work fine for the most part. They probably are fun. They will be fun games. I am saying they are, regardless of the quality it is, it still does not mean it should be up to that high of a price.
Yes.
And everybody's simping for Nintendo and jumping in to be like, I gotta have it, has fucked everyone else. Because you knew there was no way that if they got away with it, everyone else wasn't going to raise their prices as well. Especially for a game that doesn't cost as much to make as the big budget AAA Western games.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Nintendo games aren't better quality than those games, but they don't cost as much to make.
But they still don't cost that much to make, and they shouldn't be that high of a price, especially if you're going digital too, which is also another problem I have with Nintendo for a very long time, is that a bunch of their digital and secondhand market games are so high priced that I still can't afford them. I still don't buy them. Because I can't get it, because I just can't go near them. When you're 2 console generations away and these games are still $50, hell no.
And Nintendo Nintendo themselves have gone out and say, because they are so anti-piracy, anti-emulators, unless they're the ones doing it. That when people have brought about can't afford the second, because a lot of these games are not available, they're only in second hand, and people upcharge them like crazy, and Nintendo's just like, well, you don't got really much options, so I guess you just have to get those from those second hand sellers, or if you can't afford the Switch 2, well, don't worry, you can still buy a Switch 1. It's like
the Switch 1 with its games that won't go down in price.
It's like people get pissed. People get pissed at Microsoft and Sony when they pull this crap. But every time Nintendo says this stuff, everybody's just like, "Why are everybody mad?"
I have one phrase for you, Nintendo. Yar har fiddle dee dee. Being a pirate is okay with me.
I would make more comments about Ojunix's statement about Nintendo fans, but we'll be here all night if I do.
Yeah.
So I am actually going to cut it here. I think we've more or less said what we need to say about game prices without going into a further rant about Nintendo. So thank you everybody for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Good evening.